Okay, Fazer carbs. These are off a Fazer, they call it a box eye, not a fox eye. It's the early one, the FZS one, 600cc one. 1998 to 2000 or 2001. Just cleaning them out. Well, the main thing is take the four bowls off, take the jets out, clean the jets out and the emulsion tubes. You may find these little BOC ones are too big, so the best thing to use is a wire brush. If you pull one of these out with some pliers, you find it's a really strong piece of wire, and you can hold it in the pliers and clear the jet out. Now they may be really well bunged up, so what you need to do is some pliers with a bit of a hole in, hold your jet, hold the wire, get your jet in there, heat it up for about 10 seconds at the most, probably 5, don't overdo it. That'll melt the stuff in the jet enough to poke this through, so then you just poke this wire through, it should go through and you clear it out. Just blow them clean, make sure they're clear. That's the jets. Now don't forget that one of the jets hasn't got a hole in it. You'll unscrew 2 screws in there, brass screws. One of them you can't get anything in, it's just a blanking one, so do remember that. Take the other one out, take the emulsion tube out, clear all the holes in the tubes, make sure they're all clear. There is another jet in here, doesn't usually get bunged up, but down there there's one you can get out with a screwdriver. If you undo it, you can just turn it over, knock it out, make sure it's clear. The other thing that I struggled with was lining these butterflies up. I put it back on and did them with the proper gauges, but they have to sit. You see how they click back now? Well, there's all sorts of crud down there in these tubes, the Venturi tubes, and they weren't coming back right. I didn't realise that the first time. I usually use a carb cleaner. This was great on injectors in my diesel car, cleaned all the injectors out, but it wouldn't touch that. This, however, you'll be careful with it, it's quite strong, really good. I sprayed it in here and just left it for a few seconds, 10-20 seconds, and it got rid of all of it, which meant you could line the butterflies up. They've got screws between here. You can see the middle one there, probably. That's the centre one. There's one behind this pipe down there, and there's one down there. You get to them at the top, you can probably just about see the screw there, and probably there. Difficult to line up, but you can do it. Just start with 1 and 2. Well, you can start with either, it doesn't matter when they're off, and then just line these 2 up with that screw, and these 2 up with the other screw. So they're lined up, the butterflies have got the right gap at the bottom. They're coming just either before or just closing. You can hear them snap too, they should do that. If it's not working right, try backing off the idle adjuster, which is in the bottom of here. It goes onto there. That idle adjuster, you might be overdone it, it might be too tight, so take that off and try again. One of the important things I found is that these, on this one, these shafts that drive the butterflies were quite seized up inside there, either side, in these bits. And a bit of the WD in each one down there. Keep it up on its end this way so it runs down that way. Work them, it'll go down, you'll feel them freeing off, turn it round the other way, do them down each one of these again, move it, free them off, and you'll find they soon start clicking back properly, as they should do, like that. Okay, that's quite important. Now also the slides, you take the tops off, these two screws, careful with the rubber diaphragm. These sometimes stick down here. See how these aren't sticking now? They were. Well, not all of them, two I think were sticking in the beginning. But now you can hear the sound of them. The diaphragm's working. You can hear the pressure. So they're working. The needle's moving up and down in the jets. So that's about got it right, hopefully, this time. The other important thing is this on the end. It's the T.P.S, or the throttle position switch. Now you need to mark where it is, like I've done there. Loosen those because you've got to adjust it afterwards. When you make any adjustments you have to adjust that. So you adjust that when it goes back on the bike. Because you have to have the electrics going for it to work, obviously, once you unplug it and then plug it back in again. So you have to switch on the ignition to do that, disconnect the plug if you've connected it up, and put it back in. Now the rev counter should display 500 or 1000. If it shows 1000 or 0, loosen the screws and adjust it so that it shows 5000 RPMs. Okay, on the speed, on the instruments. Switch off the ignition. Okay. You can balance the carbs again, but it puts that out again. And, you know, if you're balancing them with a gauge, you know, the pressure, the dial gauges, or any other way, it does put it out again, or it says it does in the book. So there's a few things there which hopefully should help you. So hopefully these work when it goes back on, but that's the important bit, I think. Getting those to line up right, which means hopefully you don't have to do a lot of adjustment to the screws once it's back on the bike. They click down nicely now, and if you look at yours you may find that the little holes, there's 3 little holes down. Let's see if I can get it. There's 3 little holes down here. Now it should cover those from what I can make out. There's obviously one where the screw goes into to adjust the mixture, the air. That's the air mixture, that one. So that's an air screw, and that's an air screw, and that. There's 4 of them. So you can see that little pip coming up, but there's 3 holes here. Now when that snaps back, as far as I can tell, it should cover them. I don't know if you can actually pick those up. See where they're like. You can probably see these 3 down there. There's 3 little tiny holes there. 1, 2, 3 after the pilot jet, and it snaps back over those. Well, I think it does, so we'll see when I put it back on again. I'll have to adjust these screws again. You can actually see that screw there for that side, those carburettors that side. Obviously, for this side, it's the same thing, there's one here. And obviously the centre one. You'll probably find you've got to adjust the idle, you will find you've got to adjust that at the end as well. Now, I've stuck a screw in here on the choke rail. This is the choke mechanism, runs along here. There was a screw missing. I thought, oh, well, I'll put one in there. There's obviously one missing. But when you look at all the other carburetors, they have actually got one missing. I don't know why. Probably something to do with the bend of this whole shaft. I don't know, but they all do the same. They work these choke rods here. So, I don't know, you can leave that out, but I've stuck one in there. So, there we go. Don't know what else I can tell you. I think that's it. We'll see what happens when it goes back on the bike. So, it may have been some use for somebody. Hopefully it has. I think that's about it. Cheers. Okay, the carbs are back on now. All back on the bike, sensors on, adjusted. Really useful screwdriver to adjust these mixture screws. They are set at 2, but you can put that under there and adjust all of them Really handy that. Just a right angled screwdriver. Well, I was actually going to add something about these, the inlet rubbers. They do split. You can see in the light. Let's have a look. You can probably just about see that's probably not the worst one. But I decided not to change them, mainly because if you buy them from China, they're £12 for a set. Great. It takes about a month to get here, mine. If you buy them in this country, they're like ridiculous prices. I think the cheapest I could see them for about 70 quid. Some of them are well over £100 for a set of them. So I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to put... It doesn't appear, even with the big splits, they go all the way through. They're perished around the edges where the clip's probably been too tight. Just pinched them down. So I filled them with a super glue. Left them overnight. And I think, actually, it seems to have got them. Well, we'll know anyway when I put it back on again. But I think it's only perished on the outside. I don't think it's gone all the way through. It can't get, as far as I can see, through inside. So it can't be. There won't be an air leak, I hope. You could put something else around, some PTFE, I suppose, tape round there before you crimp the clips on. But that's another thing to bear in mind. These rubbers do leak air, and then you will get a erratic running. So there we go, just connected it all up to the gauges, started it up, and this is where the gauges are. Just over 2, just over 2, a bit more. So you could tweak the carbs a little bit. But to be honest, I don't think we're going to bother at that. I might just try this right one a little bit. It's this one, I think it's a bit low. I'll just try and get those right with a screwdriver. But apart from that, sounds good. Okay, well this is the best I can get them. They weren't quite right, not far off, but I put the gauges on and adjusted them, so this is what they read now.